Well, just how grave are the consequences of the president's tweets and statements? Joining us from Augusta, Georgia, is retired Professor Han Park. He's the founding director for the Center of Study of Global Issues. And in Taipei, Ross Feingold. He's the former Asia chairman of Republicans Abroad. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. First of all, Han Park, has Trump's bluster and his tweets had a desired effect? I mean, the two Koreas are talking for the first time in years.
Well, if you want to find out what Mr. Trump wanted toward North Korea, no one knows for sure. He hasn't made it very clear, except calling North Korean leader Kim Jong-un by names and just emotional hyping up. Other than that, there's no consistent foreign policy, except the fact that he still uses military option as the only option, which doesn't exist anymore. For good reasons. But he is at times talking about peaceful negotiation, but I don't think he's prepared to do that. He doesn't have any strategy for negotiated settlement. So first year, Trump administration toward North Korea was a total non-existence and total failure.
Ross Feingold, do you agree with that it's been a total failure in the first year? It's certainly been worrying for lots of people, not least the people of Hawaii who had to deal with a phony missile threat just over the weekend.
Well, the reality is we have to separate the tweets from the substantive accomplishments of the Trump administration's foreign policy, and specifically the North Korea policy. The reality is that there's been several unanimous United Nations resolutions. China has been very supportive of increasing sanctions on North Korea, and to a large extent has implemented the sanctions, although we know their shortcomings, and the United States continues to pressure China, and more recently Russia, to address also Russia's shortcomings in implementations of the sanctions regime. In addition, there are a number of countries around Asia which have ceased to do business with North Korea, which have ceased to allow North Korean diplomats to conduct illicit operations under diplomatic cover, as well as North Korean businessmen. So to focus on the tweets really ignores the substantive outcomes of the Trump administration's North Korea policies.
Han Park, I mean, you must admit that, and also President Moon of South Korea did say that Donald Trump helped with the pressure that he's put on with sanctions to get the North Koreans to the negotiating table somewhat.
There are more and more players, such as Russia and China and other countries, who joined sanctioning North Korea, but the outcome of denuclearization of North Korea, nothing. If anything, it's negative impact. The only thing that it did, all the pressures did was to make North Korean people, especially children, starve, and some are dying. Other than that, we have not accomplished anything, and that's nothing different from many years before. So unless we change our strategy, in fact, our goal clearly different from denuclearization, from to non-proliferation, and try to involve North Korea, work with North Korea. If North Korea is a terrorist, you cannot pressure terrorists in the hope of calming it down. It doesn't work that way. So I think it still is fatal.
Ahmed, just pick up on that. I mean, how much do you agree that this strategy is completely flawed?
Obviously, it doesn't seem like he has a strategy except just calling the leader of North Korea, different names and talking about how his button is bigger than the North Koreans' button.
It's not conventional, is it?
It's not conventional, but Republicans will often say, separate the tweets, separate what he says from what's happening in the reality. If there's any progress that's happening in North Korea, it's because of the State Department, because of real diplomats, Korean diplomats that are trying to resolve the problem in other neighboring countries. Donald Trump's comments and his rhetoric is actually a hindrance and an obstacle to resolving the North Korea crisis. He's actually trying to push it push more towards war, a nuclear war with North Korea, and is not contributing to a peaceful outcome.
I mean, he talks about Korean diplomats. There's not even a South Korean ambassador at the moment. He hasn't been able to fill the State Department out.
That's correct. He has not. But there are nominations for many ambassadors that are sitting within the Senate right now, going in front of the Senate committees. But as I said, they've been focusing mostly on putting judges and on domestic policy, getting the judges in place and getting that type of, the domestic policy set. And now they're working on getting their ambassadors approved where in nations that that were State Department not controlled, that were appointed by the president. So South Korea is a designated, you can go there as an appointment from the president. It is not a State Department post.
All analysts will tell you that this administration is gutting the State Department. They're actually going to war with the State Department. They think the diplomats there are part of some sort of conspiracy of the deep state, and they have to gut it because they don't want to have a State Department that uses diplomacy. They prefer other means, and the ambassadors that they're appointing are the ambassadors like the one that's in Europe that's sharing and fake news, and people are holding him accountable. So the people that he's putting forward are not qualified for those positions, and are definitely share some of the same rhetoric and ideology as Trump.
Final word to you, Ross Feingold. Do you see this being positive next few months? We've perhaps going to have a stopping of military drills between America and South Korea. That's certainly in favor of North Korea. Do you see there being positive steps going forward in the next few months in terms of relations on the peninsula?
Well, generally speaking, with the Olympics upcoming, we see not only North Korea wanting to participate in the Olympics, but generally the Olympics are a feel-good moment across the world. So that certainly should help reduce some of the tensions. But the military exercises are an important component of pressuring North Korea. And we see that not only South Korea, but also Japan are all on board with the military exercises. And similar to the sanctions, these things do work. So again, to focus on the tweets or to say things like the Trump administration's policy has had no outcomes is really inconsistent with the reality of what the combination of military pressure and sanctions pressure has caused North Korea to seek to have talks with South Korea.
And Ross, I absolutely agree with you. I just would like to say we've had our Secretary of State visit Korea and be in the East and be in Asia many times through this last year, focusing specifically on North Korea. Just to say that the administration isn't highly engaged into the policies and paying very strong attention to it is not a factual statement.
Towards it, Tina. Thank you. Ross Feingold in Taipei, Han Park in Augusta in Georgia. Thank you both very much for joining us.